What's the number one thing that I need to do to prepare for podcast interviews? What kind of marketing material do I need? Do I need anything? Hi, this is Kathleen Gage with Power Up for Profits podcast show and Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. I get asked these types of questions all the time from people who want to get on shows. Do I need marketing material? If I do, what do I need? And with what I need, how do I do it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a very simple process for getting your first piece of marketing material together. It helps if you have a website, it helps if you have a social media presence, and it helps if you have what's called a one sheet. I'm going to show you a very simple one sheet. It doesn't need to be elaborate. And oftentimes with a one sheet, it's more for you than it is for the host. However, there are times that a host will ask for a one sheet, and if they do, you want to have it. So let's hop on over, take a look at a one sheet, and I'll show you some of the distinctions that'll make it a nice document that you can send to a host should they ask for it, or if they say yes to an interview, and you can say, oh, by the way, I have my one sheet. So let's hop on over. So this is a real simple one sheet, and you'll notice it's as simple as it gets. It's got my name on it, it's got my logo on it, it's got an image, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. And again, it's more for you than it really is for the host, because oftentimes when people put together a one sheet, they actually realize that they were scattered, they were all over the place, and the one sheet forces them to be very narrow and niche in their approach. Now, just because you're focused on one niche doesn't mean that you can't get on a number of different types of shows, but this helps you to get your focus in line. And we've got a very short bio right here. You'll notice my bio. Kathleen Gage is on a mission to raise awareness in two very distinct areas: the power of podcast interviews to raise awareness about one's mission and business, and the plant-based vegan lifestyle. So those are two areas that I focus on. So with that, I could split it up into two one sheets, or I can just put it on one, which makes it easier. Suggested topics. I've got 4. You might want to give 3 to 5 suggested topics. Anything beyond that is way too much. Even 4 is a lot, but because I have 2 areas that I'm focused on, that's why I have 4 topics. Why now is a great time to become a vegan. How to align your mission with your message with your mission. That aligns very nicely with my vegan message. The power and profit of making yourself visible. That aligns with podcast interviews. How to become a rock star podcast guest. That aligns very nicely with my program, the Podcast Rockstar Club. Now, tell us suggested questions. Tell us about your journey into becoming a vegan. I've got that first question. What is one of the best ways an expert can increase their visibility? Why do you think so many people hide out and don't go after what they want? And how much does social media play into expanding one's market reach? These are just suggested questions. It most likely will be that the host will have other questions they ask, or if they want a more detailed list, you can send them that. But in looking at this, one of the things you want to do is you want to hyperlink the URLs. Okay, so we've got Power Up for Profits. It takes them right over to my Power Up for Profits page. And here they can see that I definitely do have a lot of expertise, and obviously there's been a lot of effort put into my website. Okay, back to the one sheet. We can go over to LinkedIn. It's hyperlinked. That's the beauty of having a PDF. So again, this is really a nice document to have. A lot of people don't put a one sheet together, and I highly recommend you do, because again, it'll help you to get clear on what your message is. And it takes people right over to my LinkedIn profile, and they can see that I've got more than 500 connections. They can see what my expertise is. This little symbol right here is the symbol of being a vegan. I've got a little circle with a V inside of it. That means I'm a vegan. So that aligns very nicely with the fact that I talk about podcast shows, getting on podcast shows, and also plant-based eating. Going back to my one sheet, if I want to take them over to Twitter, you can put Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. You can put whatever social media is most important to you. But here they'll see that I'm very active on social media, and there's a lot about podcast shows. There's a lot about plant-based eating if they just explore it a little deeper. Here's one interview I did for plant-based eating. Here's another interview. So lots and lots of great information, cute little pigs here. But again, I encourage you, definitely put a one sheet together. I have it branded with my colors, so you want to make sure that it's consistent with your look. So let's go back to my website, and I'll show you again. It aligns very nicely with my colors. And if you're interested in learning more about how to get on shows, I've got the podcast Rockstar Club. You just need to go to powerupforprofits.com. That's powerupforprofits.com. Then click on Podcast Rockstar Club. It takes you right over to the information page of how you can actually learn everything you need to know to be a rockstar podcast star. And it's a very in-depth program, and I've priced it at a point that is what I call the pandemic pricing. It's only $147 a one-time payment. It gives you unlimited access. We have monthly live trainings. You have access to all the training material. You have access to a Facebook group. And a nice feature is I've got a Facebook Live that anybody who gets 3 interviews or more based on the information in my program can be featured on the Facebook Live. Not only do you go on the Facebook Live, you go on my blog, you go on my podcast, you go on my YouTube channel. So you get a lot of visibility based on doing the work. So again, I encourage you, check out the information on the one sheet, put a one sheet together, keep it really simple, have it professionally designed. If you're not a good designer, it doesn't cost that much to have one designed if you go to a place like Fiverr.com. That's Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. You can have somebody lay it out. Now, they probably won't do the copy for you for a low price. That is a whole different conversation. But again, I encourage you, put your one sheet together, get really focused on what it is you talk about, and go out and get lots of interviews. This is Kathleen Gage with Power Up for Profits podcast show and Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. I encourage you, visit my website at powerupforprofits.com. That's powerupforprofits.com. Check out the information. I've got a lot of great resources as it pertains to getting on podcast shows. Have a great day and go out and be a rock star.